What's going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here with the final strike brought to you by the Baltimore Battery. Hope everybody had a wonderful and enjoyable Easter weekend outside of watching the Baltimore Orioles play yesterday. Not much to say after a 24-2 shellacking, especially in the final game of the homestand after winning 3 of your last 4 games. Definitely did not turn out anywhere closely remotely to what the Orioles were looking at. You take a few things after this. Brandon Hyde flat out said the game was embarrassing. There's nothing more you can say, really, is it was embarrassing. Yeah, definitely gave me one to get over quickly, according to Ryan Ripken. Jordan Westberg, interesting take on it. Instead of a wake-up call, Westberg called it a kick in the butt, and he expects the team to show up in Washington on Tuesday pissed off. Let's hope so. It's going to piss us off because it's embarrassing. We need to come in Tuesday pissed off and win a series in Washington. I wouldn't say it's a wake-up call to change anything. I think it's just lights a fire under us, and I think it will. There's a ton of competitive guys in here who care a lot. Doesn't seem like it through the first few weeks of the season, though. Hopefully we learn from this, and hopefully it kind of sparks us. I don't think we need to change anything. It's way too early to start changing things. That's Jordan Westberg after the game yesterday, but is it way too early to start changing things? 21 games into a season, and the team looks as lost as it has since game 1. So when does it become the right time to change things? Interesting statement from Austin Wynns, the Reds' current catcher, former Orioles catcher, and he sums it up. And the last part of his statement actually makes total sense when you think about it and you look at how the Orioles have been playing. It's a big league game. We took it to them. We knew they were flat and they were deprived of their pitching when we just kept on going. We were hurting with our pitching too, but guess what? We took advantage and did what we needed to. Took advantage, and I definitely would say took advantage. The fact that we ended up resorting to Gary Sanchez and Jorge Mateo both pitching an inning yesterday just to save a bullpen that has been majorly depleted because of its overuse, partially in the fact that we have had 6 games in our first 21 in which the pitcher has made it into the 5th inning or later. 3 of those belong to Zach Eflin, who has missed his last 2 starts. More recently, one went to Tomohiko Sagano, who went 7 innings in one of his best games yet, and who has been a bright spot in an otherwise dismal rotation. You have 41-year-old Charlie Morton, who was 0-5, who has an ERA over 10. His whip is over 3. You can't tell me in less than a year's time this guy has just all of a sudden forgotten how to pitch. I mean, he did have a game, his 3rd game into the season, he struck out 9 batters. So it's not like he can't get people out. The problem is he's not giving up a lot of extra base hits. He's just giving up hits. Weak bloops, seeing eye singles, and singles that are finding a way through, and it clusters the bases, and then you get one big hit that's going to bring in a few runs, and it snowballs from there. He's given up at least 7 runs in 3 of his contests so far this year. He was supposed to be a veteran we could rely on to eat innings. I'm not saying we expected him to go out there and go 18-5, but a little bit better than what we've got now would be serviceable. And what's worse, you have Dean Kramer, who's not living up to expectations. He's a roller coaster ride in itself right now, after a lot of people are expecting him to take a step forward, especially being 29, entering his prime years, especially in one of the final years of his contract, too. You'd think there would be a little bit more fire there, especially with what he's done for us over the past few years. Brandon Young came in the other day, did decent for his first major league start, 4 2/3 innings, gave up 3 runs, kept us in the ballgame. Couldn't ask for anything more out of a rookie pitcher. Against an offense that's pretty decent. Obviously, you see what they did yesterday. That is the worst loss by an Orioles team since 2012. Actually, it might be 2011. Similar loss to the Texas Rangers opened the door for Buck Showalter to actually enter as the manager for the Baltimore Orioles, in which he led us for 5 years. So, take with it what you will. Reading the comments on social media today, a lot of people are finger pointing at Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde. The one thing I still have yet to see anybody do anything this year about is when do players get accountability and have to take responsibility for this. Brandon Hyde is not out there playing the game. He's putting the players out there that he feels will give the team the best chance to win. Players who have been here for 2 or 3 years, with the exception of Tyler O'Neill and Gary Sanchez. But for the most part, most of that offense has been here for the last couple of years. You have Ryan Mountcastle, Ryan O'Hearn at first base. You have Jackson Holliday, Jordan Westberg shifts alternating at second base, Gunnar Henderson at shortstop, Ramon Urias and Jordan Westberg at third base. Center field, Cedric Mullins. Right field, normally Colton Cowser, except he's hurt right now. And newcomer, Tyler O'Neill. Catcher, Adley Rutschman. Backup, Gary Sanchez. Like you said, most of these players have been here over the last couple of years and have contributed to the Orioles making the postseason in the last couple of years. Zach Eflin came halfway through last year, pitched very well for us. He's injured. Grayson Rodriguez, injured. Trevor Rogers, injured. Chase McDermott, injured. Albert Suarez, injured. Then you have Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells, who were already injured and weren't expected back until probably July at the earliest. That's 7 starters. Right there, that's 7 starters. On top of the 4 that you already have in the bigs, and then Brandon Young. That's 12 starters. And yet, I see comments that the Orioles failed to secure pitching depth to allow for things like this to happen. I don't think anybody expected to go into the season losing 5 starters to start the year. And if anybody said that they did, I want you to prove it, because I can honestly tell you, Grayson Rodriguez, Zach Eflin, being the 1 and 2 starters would have been great. Zach Eflin has 3 of our 6 starts over 5 innings. Grayson Rodriguez pitched to a 2.58 ERA in the second half of last season. He had 8 starts last year in which he specifically stopped a loss or a losing streak. So yes, big things were expected of Grayson Rodriguez, who was out with an injured elbow and now is having imaging done on his shoulder. We're still waiting for those results and second opinions, which tells me there's something going on there that they don't want to tell us yet until they know for sure. Albert Suarez was not expected to be missing the amount of time he's missing. He was actually going to be a swing starter and a bullpen piece. Trevor Rogers, knee subluxation, playing catch at home, getting ready for the season. Chase McDermott, lat strain, not expected back until May at the earliest. These were unexpected experiences. Yes, you can go out and say the Orioles failed to secure a starter, but then you hear people like Corbin Burns say the Orioles offered a 4-year, $180 million deal. It just was the length that they had a problem with. Even went so far as to say we probably could have gotten a 5th year out of them if we asked. If we asked means they didn't ask. But he also wanted to be closer to his family and near his family, which is in Phoenix, Arizona, which is why he signed with the Diamondbacks. Nobody even had the Diamondbacks on the radar for Corbin Burns. Anthony Santander admitted the Orioles offered him a 3-year deal. He wanted a longer deal, and he held out for one. Then, at the time after the Orioles had moved on and signed Tyler O'Neill, he eventually says he'd be willing to take a shorter-term deal. At that point, we had already moved on from signing him. So the two players that the Orioles coveted the most wanted more time. We didn't give it to him. Max Fried got a 7-year, $200 million deal. We weren't going to spend that on a pitcher approaching his 30s. It just wasn't going to happen. And the people who get upset and say this is what could have been, no, it's not what could have been, because we were never going to pay out that long of a contract to a pitcher. Anybody who watched the track record of the Houston Astros when Mike Elias was the assistant GM knows they didn't put out long-term deals for pitchers. They got Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, and Zach Greinke towards the end of contracts. The only one of those three that they extended was Justin Verlander, and it was for only 2 years. So that should tell you something. A lot of the times, look at what the Yankees have gone through with Rendon the last couple of years. The first year, he almost was out of pitching, period, because of an injury to his shoulder and to his back. And he came back last year and had a rough start. So then you sign Max Fried, you expect to have Rondon, and then you get Garrett Cole, who is now lost for the year with Tommy John surgery. Not to mention last year's rookie phenom Gill is out for a majority of the season as well. So pitching problems happen. You can only prepare so much. The Orioles had probably the best depth they have had at pitching going into a season when March spring training games started, and then from there went to holy hell. And it's gotten worse. We just got rid of a pitcher we claimed off waivers a few days ago because we needed to bring him a fresh bullpen arm. We had to risk losing him. Blew it. Who ends up being traded to the Atlanta Braves for cash considerations because that's all we were going to get for him. And then I see people saying we should have cut Cionel Perez. Cionel Perez is a lefty. Blewett's a righty. We have plenty of righties. Lefties is where we're slim. I guarantee if you put Cionel Perez on waivers, he would have been snapped up quicker than Blewett was. Blewett got all the way down to the Atlanta Braves. So Elias and Hyde can only do so much. At some point, there has to be accountability, responsibility, and ownership by the players to realize that there's something going on. And one of the biggest issues I've seen, and I've been saying this a lot since the start of the season, especially in the Baltimore Battery chat, there is no on-the-field leadership. And what I mean by that is you don't have a player like Adam Jones or Anthony Santander who can go up to a player after a game like yesterday and say, hey, look, you're not pulling your weight. Let's figure out what we got to do, or we need to get somebody else in here who will do it for you. There's not a player on that team who was doing that. You would think players such as Ryan Mountcastle, who has been around since 2020, would take up that mantle. Cedric Mullins, who was so bad at one point, he got demoted from Major League all the way down to Double-A, has fought his way back, and has been one of the best defensive center fielders in the game, and even had a 30-30 season offensively. He's been a very good clutch hitter for us as well. He's not doing that. Gunnar Henderson, your bona fide superstar, is not doing that. Adley Rutschman, the all-world number one prospect catcher, is not doing that. Most of these players are the quiet types that lead by example, but we need somebody who's going to open their mouth and put a foot up somebody's butt when they're not taking accountability or responsibility for what they're doing and how they're performing on the field. Jordan Westberg, talking about how they should be pissed because it's embarrassed, snaps out of a 4-for-39 slump where his last hit was on April 6th to hit a home run in a 24-2 loss. And he wants to talk about embarrassing and how pissed off they will be. Adley Rutschman was 0-for-19 coming into the game. He himself had 2 hits, including a home run in a 24-2 loss. What good is this offensive outburst if you're losing by 22 runs a game, or you have a starting pitcher who's going to go out there and after 3 innings, you're going to be down 8-1? How do you get the offense to respond to that? So there's accountability that has to go around in a lot of places. Cionel Perez has an ERA that's close to 12 out of the bullpen. He's had one outing this year where he hasn't given up a run. Charlie Morton can't seem to get past the third or fourth inning without giving up almost a double-digit amount of runs. Where do you go from here? Tomoyuki Sagano, who a lot of people were questionable about, has been the best pitcher we have on the staff next to Zach Eflin. And right now he is the best pitcher we have on the staff because Zach Eflin is out. He's got an ERA that's under 4, which is definitely a highlight. He went 7 innings, allowing 2 runs in his last outing. The guy has done what we've asked so far, and he keeps getting better every start out there. That's what's even better. But I go to social media and I see everybody dissing Elias, dissing Hyde, saying that there's a feud between the two. Hyde's pissed at Elias because this is the team that he gave him to field. Tell me what's so different from last year's team and the year before's team to this year's team. You don't have James McCann. You don't have Anthony Santander. You lost Corbin Burns. We won 101 games a few years ago without Corbin Burns, with a team that had one of the worst pitching staffs, they say, assembled. Followed that up with 92 victories. And the only addition you had to the pitching staff then was Corbin Burns and eventually Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin's back, but he's hurt. Grayson Rodriguez is hurt. Where do you go? How can you blame Mike Elias for not anticipating 7 pitchers being on the IL at 21 games into a season? Colton Cowser being lost the 3rd game into the season because of a head-first slide and he broke his finger. Heston Kjerstad getting plunked in the elbow, who has a bone contusion just as he's starting to heat up. There has been so much going on. How can you blame a GM and the manager for injuries or lack of production when all they're doing is putting the best players that they feel are capable of performing out there? Are they fully exonerated from blame? No, they're not, because at some point they are responsible for it. But I don't see anybody taking stab at the players. And that's what's frustrating, is there are players out there who are not performing up to expectations. Our best player right now is Cedric Mullins, and it's not even close. Cedric Mullins is doing everything he's supposed to do. But there's nobody else behind him doing it. So all we can do is whistle and hope that the next day brings something good. I do hope we're pissed heading into Washington. I hope we take advantage of the situation there. And I hope to holy hell that we do come in pissed off. We were going into the final game of the series, winning 3 out of our last 4 games with a chance to actually win the series. And we fell flat on our faces. So we're going to say all we got to say there. That's all there is to say there. It's at some point, players have to take responsibility and action and ownership for what's going on and what's wrong. At some point they do. And if they don't, there's a problem. Yes, the manager and front office do have some blame in this, but the players have blame too. And I don't see anybody pinpointing or pointing fingers at the players. But we're going to end on a good note, a high note. MASN has come out today and announced that they have released MASN Plus, which is a subscription that basically lets you cut the cord. Don't have to have cable or satellite provider in order to watch your favorite favorite Orioles or Nationals team now. Basically, you subscribe to the app. It's $19.99 per month or $89.99 for the rest of the year. And you'll be able to watch the Orioles anywhere on your tablet, your phone, or your computer with the MASN app, which is great because now you'll be able to watch the Orioles, the Nationals, or both teams play. There's a lot of content that is on MASN that you'll be able to see as well. So regional, local sports, you'll get a lot of action there. Get some hockey from the Capitals, even might get some basketball from the Wizards. So if you're a local sports fan and Mid-Atlantic region, that definitely is one of the areas that you're going to want to look into. It's a great thing, and especially when me personally, my family has Dish Network, which refuses to have regional sports network teams there because they say they will have to accrue the costs that they're charging onto the consumer. Yet DirecTV and Comcast Xfinity have them. Okay. But then you go to Comcast Xfinity and it's $180 a month to have the Orioles, be able to watch the Orioles on cable. And that's because you have to actually get the ultimate package, which is an extra $20 a month from what it used to be. So now it's $180 a month in order to watch the Orioles. So this is definitely a steal at what other companies are going to be charging you to watch the Baltimore Orioles. I, for one, will partake in it. I think it's great. A few people are talking about it being greedy, but it comes after the Nationals and the Orioles settled their disagreement over television rights. The Orioles do own 70, 80, 75, 85% of the Nationals television rights. So we'll see what happens there. David Rubenstein, I think, is doing this to let more fans get involved closer to the game. Thank God it comes after yesterday's shellacking because I don't think anybody wanted to see that. Feel bad for anybody who was at the ballpark and saw that. But it's a good thing. So we're going to end it there. I want to give a big shout out to the Baltimore Battery. Don't forget to visit thebaltimorebattery.com where you're going to see a lot of your your favorite writers. There were different articles, different pieces. There's something there for everybody, I think, that you will enjoy, whether it be prospect information, throwback top fives, opinion pieces, bullpen rankings, pitcher rankings. We got it all. Check it out. Go to thebaltimorebattery.com. Check out what we're doing over there. I want to give a big shout out to the BaltimoreBattery.com because without them, we would not be here. It was their letting me join their wonderful group and right for them that actually led to the Final Strike being launched. Also want to give a big shout out to Scooters for Rent. If you're ever in the Delaware, Maryland, Eastern Shore area and you're looking for mobility equipment, that's handicap mobility scooters, manual wheelchairs, beach wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs, or reclining lift chairs. Make sure you give Scooters for Rent a call. Tell them that Stephen from the Final Strike sent you, and you can reach them at 302-280-6203. Last but not least, also want to thank one of my partners, Foxhole Premium Cold Brew Coffee Concentrate, provided to you by The Hero Company. One of my favorite things about The Hero Company is The Hero Company works with veterans suffering from PTSD and service dogs and helping shelter and train them to get them to these veterans. So there is proceeds from every sale that actually goes towards this. Wonderful, wonderful company. Hero Company, you can actually go straight to their website where you can find a lot of their products, bracelets, hats, t-shirts, and Foxtail coffee. If you're watching me on YouTube or you're listening to this, you can head over to YouTube. The link is in my profile. Or you can head over to TikTok, check my profile under the solo account, and the link to directly go to Foxhole Coffee is there. So until next time, Birdland, let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on this and what's going on with the Baltimore Orioles 21 games since the season. Yes, it still is a long season and we have 141 games left. But I need to know what you're thinking, and I need to know what your opinions are on this. Do you agree, disagree? What do you think we need to do to fix it? At what point do the players get to take responsibility instead of always being Brandon Hyde or Mike Elias? So leave me a comment, send me a question or a post. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or X at SRJ Heckman, or you can find me on X at the Final Strike _. Also, don't forget to check out the Baltimore Battery on TikTok and X at the Be More Battery. Till next time, Baltimore, remember to keep the beer cold. Even after yesterday's loss, keep that cooler closed. We want to keep that beer nice and chilled. We'll see you next week, and we'll have more to discuss. Until next time, peace out and go Birds.